Hey folks, today we're in the 8th chapter of Matthew's Gospel, and really this chapter does what the first chapter of Mark also does, which is point us to Jesus' power and authority. So where Mark starts with the deity of Christ, Matthew begins his Gospel by focusing on the human ancestry of Jesus and leads us then toward his deity. And here in chapter 8, after many chapters about his birth and chapters about his teaching, Matthew now wants to address the simple question, who is Jesus really? And as much as this is a simple question, it's not an exaggeration to say it's the most important question of all. If Jesus really is the Son of God, come to earth to reveal God to humanity and save us from sin, then we must find out more about him. Either he is God and is the most important person of all history, or he's not, and we can kind of take him or leave him. So Matthew now presents the case as to why he believes Jesus is very much God himself. Building on his otherworldly teaching in the Sermon on the Mount, he now illustrates Jesus' otherworldly power and authority. So verses 1 to 17 then show us a trio of healings as such. Firstly, the man with leprosy. So in biblical times, leprosy was rampant and was really a death sentence. If you caught leprosy, you were segregated from society, alienated, cut off from family and friends, and more or less left to die. But Jesus reveals his power to heal, and maybe even more significantly, his willingness to move toward those who are unclean or marginalized. He reaches out to touch the man, a huge no-no. You can imagine the crowds watching along, absolutely gobsmacked at this. But Jesus doesn't care about conventions or social norms. He doesn't care about opinions or etiquette. He's here to be obedient to his Father's will and to reveal God's glory and his love to the world. Secondly, then, Jesus heals the centurion's servant. And the amazing thing about this healing is that Jesus does it from afar. He doesn't even need to go near the man or touch him. Jesus has so much power and authority that when he speaks, even a word miles away, biological, chemical, physical reactions take place. Stuff changes. And this is more than a man here. This clearly is God himself. What's also significant about this incident, though, is that the centurion was a Gentile, a pointer to the fact that God's blessing is not just simply for the Jews. Are we seeing here the beginning of the true fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham that his offspring would be a blessing to all the nations? And thirdly, then, we're told about Jesus healing Peter's mother-in-law who has a fever. Someone close to home, so to speak. Someone who the disciples would have known. Certainly Peter and his brother knew her well, no doubt cared about her, even loved her. Jesus doesn't just heal randomers like some sort of traveling showman. He is healing individual people who are loved, who are hurting. Our God is a God of compassion. Let's never forget it. Verses 18 to 22 then offer up a bit of a challenge, the cost of following Christ. Yes, he has power and authority. Yes, his teaching is unlike anyone else's. His words are the very words of God, but following him may well lead to hardship. It may well lead to insecurity, even homelessness. This is not the ticket to an easy life. This is not the ticket to riches and fame. It's not enough to simply admire Jesus from afar. He calls us to follow him despite what might come, maybe the blood, the sweat, and the tears. In verses 23 to 27, then, we get an amazing demonstration of Jesus' power. This time, not over physical bodies, rather it's over the wind and the waves, over nature itself. Now, this truly is a step up. Even the disciples who have kind of seen him say and do amazing, mind-blowing things by this point, they are terrified and they cry out in amazement. And what they cry out is the very question that Matthew is revealing the answer to here. The very question that we mentioned at the start that's more important than any other in history. The question that has divided people for millennia. Who is this man? And then the final section in chapter 8 adds one more layer to Jesus' power and authority. He's able to make commands and even demons obey. Now, this is just incredible. The demons, they know who he is, they recognize him coming, and they are terrified. They think that he's come here to torment them or torture them. And what an encouragement this is for us. For those of us who maybe are afraid of the devil and his schemes, for those of us who are concerned about the power that Satan has in this world, Jesus reminds us that the victory has already been won. He has complete authority over the enemy. As Paul says in Romans 8:31, if God is for us, who can be against us? An amazing passage today. Jesus is more than a mere man. This is the power of God himself on display. Join us again for more in chapter 9. Until then, God bless.